Elise Jordan's still with us, and join the conversation, we now have NBC News national affairs analyst and partner and chief political columnist at Puck, John Heilemann, and the co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader. Thanks to you both for being here. So, Lauren, how do you read these tea leaves here? I mean, we have talked a lot about on the show how the Matt Gaetz pick fell apart, but senators didn't actually have to put their name to it.
Yeah.
So far, they haven't had to put their name to this one either.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump doesn't want to look like he's lost more than once. I mean, I think that's part of the problem with Hegseth, is that it doesn't look good for him. So, I actually think it's kind of a reasonable strategy on his part. Keep supporting him on Truth Social, let the senators take the fall and let them go vote against him, and then it's not his fault. Then he has people to blame, and it wasn't his bad choice, and it wasn't the fact that they didn't vet the guy and that they didn't do their homework and didn't know that this stuff was coming up. I also think you can't underestimate the Fox News piece of this, which is his mom going on Fox News. Like, that's powerful stuff. And, the one thing they do extraordinarily well in Trump world is transform stories into smears and, discredit news. And I think that's part of what they did with his mom on Fox this weekend. I mean, now it's very easy for people to say they all made it up. It's nonsense. Even his own mother says that he is a good guy. So, I mean, this has been classic I think it's kind of classic Trumpism. He's not going to want to look like he lost this one. He'll do anything to take them out in the process.
So, Lauren, let's turn to your latest op-ed for The Hill, which has the title, Will the 2025 Women's March Galvanize or Repel? In it, you write in part this. On the day after Donald Trump's inauguration in January 2017, millions of women took to the streets in Washington, D.C. and cities around the world to express collective rage about his election and show solidarity for women intent on fighting back against his presidency. Yet, as Trump's second inauguration approaches, the call to march again for many of us is landing like a lead balloon. This time, leaders and potential marchers recognize their goals could be better served by taking time to consider new ways of political organizing, more inclusive outreach, strategy, and reflection that seems imperative if Democrats are to regain their majorities in future elections. There will undoubtedly be another moment when women will be compelled to march en masse for their rights, and the 2025 march may very well turn out significant numbers of people who are motivated to descend on Washington. But given the reticence of so many women leaders right now, it might instead be a good time to take a pause to think, plan, and regroup for what will be the lifetime of activism and advocacy required to achieve the more perfect union so many women yearn to see. So, Lauren, it has been striking, the lack of protest movements to this point. You mentioned the reluctance that at least some women have about another women's march. Tell us a little more as to why you think that is and what else that could be done instead.
It's not just the Women's March, right? I think there's this sense that all of the stuff that was sort of resistance in 2016, 2017 to the 2018 midterms and beyond is really, really different this time around. And I think there's a couple reasons for it that tied to the Women's March, but also to other sort of efforts to curb Trump's impact. One is that a lot of the strategies over the last few years, they clearly failed in this election. And I think one of the reasons for that, from my perspective, and one of the problems that the Women's March always had, was that women who were right of center, maybe not all the way to the Trump end of the spectrum, but didn't see themselves in the sort of ultra-left organization of a lot of the women's organization, they turned away. And I think we are in a moment where Democrats need to regroup. And I think what I heard from many, many women leaders, and by the way, especially from Black women leaders of other, women's organizations and civil rights organizations, that to march would feel performative, that the time right now is really to do the work and to really start thinking about what did we do wrong and what's the strategy to get more people into the tent, to really think about how to be more inclusive. I'll just say one last thing. One of the problems with the Women's March from the beginning was that it, had a lot of, very left-leaning, politics that were problematic for a lot of folks. If you go to their website today, there's literally 18 items on the platform list. This is not a moment where people are going to agree on, a laundry list of stuff like that. So I think it's time to rethink these things.
Well, there definitely has been a vibe shift in what people are interested in and what their priorities are right now, as seen, as reflected in the vote. And when you have working class voters literally realigning with the Republican party, it is a time for reflection on the part of activists.